90.5 The Night, Brookdale Public Radio. Jeff Raspe here with you. And I've got my old friend Kevin Whelan of Aeon Station with us today. Most of us know him also as Kevin Whelan from the Wrens, which I suppose we'll talk about a little bit as well. But welcome. Good to see you after all these years.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. It's so great to see you. And it's been many, many years and many, many incarnations. So it continues to get better and better, frankly. So thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, a side note, over the holidays, I bought myself a little negative scanner. So I'm working through the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of negatives I have and scanning them,
Wow.
which will include probably a number of early or mid 90s Wrens shows.
Wow. That would be so cool. That would be great, great, great. Thank you so much.
So let's talk about the Aeon Station and the new album Observatory that came out at the end of 2021. What and I do not want to go, and I'm going to try not to go into the soap opera part of what's happened over the last few years. I mean, I guess it's been over the course of the last few years. I mean, I don't think it came up
Right.
10 months ago, but and I appreciate how open you've been in talking about it in the press, as well as Charles, for that matter.
Yeah.
Because it's, the Wrens are not only, one of my all-time favorite bands, but one of a band that should be included when talking about the history of New Jersey music.
Oh,
and that includes
a huge honor, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that, and it's funny, I made a little note that us fans, especially us fans from New Jersey, may have seen the success of the Wrens through rose-colored glasses. Like, it may have seemed like more than it really was.
Yeah.
although
I think the Wrens did as well.
Because, I mean, there were really only 3 albums over the course of, I actually wrote the dates down, like between 94 and 03, there were really only 3 albums. And the last one, I guess, the Meadowlands, probably caught you guys as much off guard as it did us, the audience, in its seeming success.
Yeah, for sure. We weren't ready for it. We were ready at that time to kind of call it quits, but it was very interesting. Yeah, very lucky time.
Well, that's a funny part of it too, because it was, let's see, it would have been 96 was Secaucus.
Yeah.
And 03 was the Meadowlands. So even the span between those 2 albums was kind of long. And, at least around here in New Jersey, New York, you guys, were drawing well, and people were always willing to book you somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. And then the Meadowlands, which I actually happen to have my copy sitting right here, which, if you're watching the video, it's the original hand silk screened version of it, before it got picked up by a label, which I realized I actually don't have a copy of that version.
I will send you it. I have it.
But the sort of surprising success and interest that the Meadowlands brought to the Wrens, you alluded to, well, you didn't even allude to it. You actually said it, that you guys possibly were even gonna end it around then.
Mm-hmm.
But did its out of left field success and the interest it generated not only come as a surprise, but all of a sudden, if the four of you had kind of got it into your headspaces, okay, this will be the last one. We'll, here, we'll hang them up after this, and then all of a sudden, everybody wants it. Did it suddenly make you think, oh, wait, maybe we should keep going?
Yeah, I think, the way you're kind of framing it, I think it's kind of helping me even, you're always trying to look back and understand why and how, but the way you're framing it is I think all of it did catch us off guard and we really weren't prepared for any aspect of it. By the time the Meadowlands came out in 2003, and even that, it wasn't like an overnight success, it sort of grew, but that was in 2003. At that point, we'd already been a band for 15 years. It's a long time, right? I mean, we were playing Bond Street. We were playing like all the places in Jersey. We are truly a Jersey band. I mean, I would argue that not many Jersey bands played on the New Jersey Cape May Lewis Ferry. And I can go to the mat on that one, right? We were so Jersey that we would play on a ferry every Tuesday and Thursday night. But I think by the time we got to that Meadowlands point, we had been kind of had our hearts ripped out and seen friends succeed and seen friends kind of fall by the wayside and all kinds of things, right? Friends from like Dismemberment Plan to Brainiacs to all kinds, it just really was a huge team at that point, or a community. And we really were. We were like, well, this is it. Nobody wants to sign us. Nobody did want to sign us because it came out on our friend's label, right? So we just said, let's just go for broke. Let's do the best songs we possibly could have and muster up. And it was a number of years that we've been working on those songs. And, it was to a lot of credit that we hung in there and did it. And, a lot of great work that Charles put into it, right? Right songs, right time, right kind of space, and just caught everyone off guard. And yeah, I think you're right. Then the follow-up was looked for, but we weren't ready for that. We were ready to go home at that point. We thought if nobody wanted, because we begged people to put that record out. That's what, we literally begged them. We begged labels, would you please put it out? And everyone said no, right? Everyone. But our friend Corey did put it out. So yeah, I think it's a unique phase of life, that's for sure. And then the reception was lovely, and that was a growing reception. And but in some ways, we sort of milked it forever, right? We kind of did our last show in 2009. That's a long time to milk a record.
You've started playing bigger venues, bigger festivals, traveling further, probably as well.
Yeah, we've been touring around the United States. Well, we always played shows. We were playing shows from 88, 89, right? We were gigging, but we started touring in 2004. In that space. So we were already playing all of the US straight away, right? So now you're already talking about 6-7 years of touring with no money and breaking down and playing small shows to nobody and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually I just realized as well, one of the things that often stresses a band are those days on the road, piled on top of each other in a van. But then at the end of the tour, everybody can go wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
Except you guys, because you all lived in a band house.
Yeah. Yeah. We lived in a band house from 2001. Oh, sorry. Whew. Since we lived in a band house in 1991, we moved into it, and we lived in that house until 2006.
Yeah,
that's a long time. And yeah, you're exactly right. We didn't tour all the time like those touring bands that go out in weeks and weeks and weeks. But we would do our weeks. But still, you're exactly right. We never separated. We were always in the same house together, living and kind of being frustrated or hopeful and all that. So yeah, it was it always has been a massive commitment.
Everything at once. The war is lost and won. Someday soon we'll find the fight is gone, no sound without us. And where do we go from here? It's never quite the same. The future lies beyond the years we thought defined who we are. Why is it never the good times can rewind to places where all of this could be corrected all in time? But there's nothing left to conversations. There are things we never learned. We fall into the miles between us. But then everyone regrets the things they never find a way to say. But I'm not going back there anymore. It's not what you had planned. The endless lines in hand, a loss that no one knows. The past is all we have to show for, but it's hard to say goodbye. There's nothing left to give. Good memories remain, but a house of guilt will fall to pieces. But nobody lives there. It's empty. We were the pilots of all of the young dreams. We wasted all away. But there's nothing left to conversations. There are things we never learned. We fall into the miles between us. But then everyone regrets the things they never find a way to say. But I'm not going back there. At least it's good it happened at all.
Sure.
Yeah, it's funny too because for a time that band house was in Fort Lee up in North
Yeah.
Jersey, and I know that I went and visited you guys there at least a couple of times,
Oh yeah.
and then it became a band house in Teaneck.
Yeah.
And once when I found that out, I was like, wait a minute, Teaneck. I drive through Teaneck basically I actually hadn't moved down here to the
That's
shore
right.
yet.
I remember.
So
That's
I
right.
still lived up in Bergen County. I was like, wait a minute. So that means your house has to be on my way home. So
Yeah.
some days I'll just pop over. Like, so and I knew what street it was. I knew it was just off Teaneck Road.
And I think you did.
I did definitely.
Yeah, I remember you popping over. Yeah, and I can totally.
And I remember the first time I'm pretty sure I didn't know the house number. So I actually stopped at the only house on the short little suburban street that had what looked like a touring van in the driveway. So I was like, I'm either going to find the Wrens or a pedophile. So
Exactly, or some sort of crazy Jersey killer. Yes, I'm glad you found us. That's so funny. Yeah, we always had the van. Our poor neighbors would have to see this ugly van for years and years and years everywhere and because we weren't touring all the time, there were years we weren't. The vans would break down and they would never move. So we were those neighbors for a long time. Right? And the van would be broken, the tires would be flat. So, the neighbors were like, wow, these guys are a bunch of losers.
Were you the last one in that house?
I was the last one in that house. Second was Charles. He moved over to Brooklyn, got married. think Greg was third and Jerry was the first to go. So
Yeah.
that was working backwards. Yeah. But years and years. I was 36,
Yeah.
turning 37. It's a long time.
Yeah. So, because one of the things that, and I may be one of the few people because of this connection. I have listened to the new album Observatory by Aeon Station, not by the Wrens, with sort of that in the back of my mind or in my ear. And I must admit, it did take me a while to figure out or remember that that little suburban street was called Alpine Drive. And you have a song called Alpine Drive on the album. But more specifically, there's a song called Empty Rooms, which, this may be my own interpretation of it, like, because I had a feeling that you were the last one to leave the house, that's that moment of being the last one in the house and all the rooms being empty, and even the home studio is gone, stuff like that.
Well, Jeff, I have to tell you, not only friends for a million years, right? But yeah, you kind of nailed it, right? And Empty Rooms was written quite a while ago, but it was for that exact reason and that purpose, right? I think we all go through that, right? We all leave apartments and houses and stuff like that, and there's that weird moment that you have.
You're standing at the door.
You're standing at the door, and you're looking at your whole life that. Now it's just like the furniture's gone, the drama's gone, the happiness, whatever it was to be in chill. And I think everyone kind of goes to that moment where it's a little bittersweet or melancholy. And you realize almost like it's a bit of like a stage and actors. And that was a part of your life, and they behaved and did that there. And yeah, so that's why I was kind of trying to capture in that song on the new record, for sure.
That's right. I didn't think of that. It's kind of like, when you get to the end of a run.
Yeah.
Theater.
Yeah, it really is that theater. That's why I would always see. It's like, wow, the costumes are gone, the set's gone, the characters are gone. You remember the stories, like that's what makes it fun. And then you leave, and it's just and it only happens in that moment, right? Not when you go into a new house, because you're already moving boxes and you're excited, and you don't have that reflection period yet. But yeah, that's really what this song was trying to capture, for sure. And I'll share with you, because we're so Jersey. It also has a reference to the story, that was kind of famous a long time ago with the boy that was kind of, dealing with issues in Rutgers, and he kind of, went to the bridge, and he was kind of being harassed and bullied, right? It was sort of an early case back then, so it was a little bit of, it was another Jersey kind of story that stuck with me, and that loneliness that one would feel, and we lived kind of close to the bridge, and so it was all that stuff. So yeah.
So. At this point, I'll say famously, some of these songs were supposed to be part of the next Wrens album.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to ask you to tell me which ones, although it is killing me to figure out which ones. Which of the songs were all of these songs written years ago? Like, I mean, because most writers I know can't stop. They just keep going. And, for 15 plus years, you guys have been waiting for this follow-up to the Meadowlands to come out. It's not like you stopped and was like, well, I'm not going to write until that album comes out. You kept writing.
It's weird, just kind of jump in there. It's really interesting is that, no, I sort of stopped.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And right, so when the Meadowlands, it was around 2006, and it was starting to kind of change or peter out or whatever you want to say, right? Things were changing. The record had been out for 3 years, and we kind of seen its peak, and I was really itching to kind of make the next record, right? And it was 2006, and I really wanted to kind of step up my game and have them be really good songs. So I did work. Maybe the hardest I've ever worked on songs, to kind of pull them together and write all these demos, and did with like so many writers and bands do. And I did that from 2006 to 2013, where I did these 5 songs and many other straps, pieces. And then I was pretty much finished by 2013, 2014. And then I was done. I think I just kind of burned out in a way And I was like, I'm happy with this offering for the next Wrens record. And I didn't do anything. I didn't do any songwriting between 2013, I would say, all the way to 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really kind of an odd occurrence, and I don't think it was very good for me, right? I don't think it was good for my brain. I don't think it was good for, for the enjoyment that I get out of songwriting. So I think all that buildup then helped push me to kind of get back to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically, none of the songs on Observatory were written specifically for an Eon Station,
Correct.
or whatever you might have called it.
Yeah, no, none whatsoever.
Wow.
And
Okay.
never with the expectation to ever be on it. Not even the ones that are kind of on it were never expected to be on it.
Okay.
That's I haven't spoken about that at all yet. But yeah, no, they were sort of written in a moment of just COVIDness, as most writers and artists and everyone kind of got back into it and had some time together. And yeah, no, there were 6 that were just sort of pulled together within weeks, and then I kind of called 5 of them to make the record, which still wasn't supposed to be a record all the way until April of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
2021.
2021.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just 7-8 months ago.
Right. And that would have, you would have needed that lead time for it ended up being an early December release. So
it did,
yeah.
And it was exactly. So that's the I mean, there was no earmarking, there was no expectation. Sub Pop never told me, "Hey, we want to do this." They did it very, very kind of like in that that April period of 2021, where they said, "If you're interested, we might be interested if we like it, and that was it." But they never said that ever before, right? There was never like, "Hey, we're really interested." To be honest with you, is actually quite the opposite, because they really are the sweetest, kindest people in music and record labels that we had ever dealt with, right? I mean, Corey was amazing; he was a great friend, but we dealt with some real lunatics in terms of record labels and all that kind of crap. But Sub Pop is just like they're so successful and famous because of who they are, when you work behind the scenes. But anyway, long story short, they were actually telling me the opposite. They were saying, the music space is crowded. It's so different than it was when the Wrens were around. And I mean, just the fact that, look, you just held up a silkscreen CD copy. That's how bizarre it was back then. And I made all of those silkscreen copies. I copied every silkscreen for those records. And I remember doing that. I remember that design. You actually have a unique design that's not many.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, I have number 466 of 1,000. And actually, even funnier, right under it, because I pulled all my Wrens records out earlier. I also have the Don't Tell Anyone CDR burn of Silver.
The CDR burn, which is just insane, But no lie, that was Greg, from the Wrens, and thank God, because we were going to make no money. I mean, we had not. Luckily, that was the weird transition where the record companies were dying, and they turned their eye because they were losing it. So we were able to burn these CDRs, and that paid for gas and money. And thank you to every fan that bought one or anyone that came to a show, because you literally got us home.
Jeff Raspe here with Kevin Whelan from Aeon Station. The new album is out on Sub Pop called Observatory. And even though I said we weren't going to spend a lot of time talking about the Wrens, I think we've ended up spending a lot of time talking about the Wrens. And I would point out one thing that, I mean, and I know all 4 of you guys are so humble that, even as fans, and we thought, you guys had reached certain levels that maybe weren't in reality. I can say that in 2004 at the Knitting Factory in New York City, I once saw Arcade Fire opened for you guys?
Wow. That was yes. The Wrens had a very interesting story. You know, if anything, and the story is continuing to be interesting. I assure you, it's really a life effort. But you're exactly right. And that Knitting Factory show and the experience with the Arcade Fire, you know, we had kind of touched sort of like that popular greatness a few times, right? You know, but that was something that was so unique because we got them that show. It was, I think it's either one of, or if not their first New York City show.
I think it was the first. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember they were just the nicest kids, and they were truly kids, and they were talking about just trying to book their upcoming summer tour. That's what they were talking about. It's like, but we hope that we're like as big as this band for the summer. And we were like, I don't know, you're really good. and at that Knitting Factory show in particular, I remember going to that one. And yeah, we were having some nice crowds come. And the Knitting Factory is a pretty humble, small place, right? It's not, whatever. It's not Terminal 5.
The Garden. It's not the Garden
exactly.
where they did end up playing a few years later.
You know, that's what's so weird. Like, that's the cool story around that with the Arcade Fire, because it was just months earlier. We went up in a snowstorm. We saw them playing in a bar. There was only like 15, 20 people in there. And again, they opened for us there because they wanted us to play with them, which was insane. And we were like, but they were very like focused and determined on making a really good record and getting on Merge. You know, they talk about that in the business world, that they sort of knew what they wanted to do, and they kind of did. And we had seen thousands of bands, but when those kids took that stage, they were a force. The songs, the performances, they were just like a force to be reckoned with. And what's kind of cool is that from knowing them, and I remember Win was taking me around and showing me his tour van. It was a bus, and he was so excited. It didn't have any heat, you know, and this is Canada. I remember driving with him, and he just could not have been a sweeter person. And then they did the gig with us at in New York City, and then we went up and played Nova Scotia, and they came and saw us. Oh, and even though we were the Wrens, there was still only like 15 people in the Nova Scotia club, and it was him and his wife, and she came along, and it was a really nice time. But then, no lie, I think it was later that year, I saw U2 in the Garden. And that was the year that U2 was using Arcade Fire music to open their show. So that blew my mind. I mean, the Wrens had some pretty humble, modest Meadowlands success. But could you imagine with those kids, literally, yeah. I was like, oh my God, the U2 is using their music to open up their show. Anyway, it's, and I'm sitting there like, wow. There's many levels of reality in the rock world.
Oh, well. But there will be an Aeon Station live show. Lest people think that Aeon Station is sort of, a Kevin locked in his basement during COVID project. There will be the first Aeon Station live show coming up March 11th. At a place called TVI in Queens, Ridgewood, Queens, of all places.
Yeah. I know, not very New Jersey. Yeah.
Which is not to say that folks aren't trying to get Aeon Station to play in New Jersey. There's a few of us who are.
Yes.
Thank you. So you're fleshing out the band for the live show. And by the way, this is in preparation for going to South by Southwest, the giant music festival showcase in Austin, Texas, every March. Fingers crossed that it happens.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's mention some of the folks who'll be filling out the TVI stage with you.
Yeah, very, very lucky. So Jerry McDonald, who is the Wrens drummer, who played all the drums on Observatory, and is just, an incredible drummer, and
I actually did want to mention that quickly, because I know you can play every instrument.
But not the drums. I would say the drums I can tap. but
Yeah.
yes, other stuff. But Jerry, yeah, he's a drummer of drummers, and I actually met Jerry in high school band. He was in Cape May, I was in Ocean City, and we were truly like those band geeks. And yeah, again, Jersey, right? We were in South Jersey band together for the high schools. And he loves to tell this story that I was being super cheesy and playing Genesis, turn it on again. And he thought it was a hideous moment. But anyway, years later, he's a great friend and drummer, right? So I've known him since 15 years old. And he did all the drums, Observatory, and even all the new songs. He's just a phenom. You figure he did all the drums in like one day, and for 6 songs, straight takes, kind of, knew the songs a little bit, but just kind of went for it. And so he'll be playing the shows, and also my brother Greg, who is, super important and part of the Wrens. Always had songs of the Wrens records, and great singer and player to his own right. He's going to play. And then also Tom Beaujour, who helped kind of, mix and record the record, and has just become just a really, nice friend and a great talent. And not only does the music and recording and studios you and I were talking about, Not a Surf, right? He's worked with them, and he's the real deal. He was also a New York Times bestseller author. With his book that came out last year. So he's going to be doing guitar, and also a good friend, Lisa Opfer, who's been in a number of Jersey bands, right? And really talented on her own right. Again, another multi-instrumentalist. And so, yeah, we're really looking forward to kind of playing and having fun, and not being locked down, hopefully.
Yeah. Did you know Tom beforehand? Because he's another long time, very Jersey engineer, producer, musician.
Yeah, oddly enough, I knew of his name, and I knew him through Lisa, and but no, we never made that connect.
Oh wow!
Until I called him out of the blue and said, could you help, and or at least take a listen? And he was extremely gracious, and he really worked hard. He really worked hard as hell, because it was a messy record. You figure I gave him tracks that were spanning for like a decade.
Yeah.
And he was a bit of an archaeologist, that's for sure.
Because it does not come across that way. Like there's no way you would know that, song A was written 12 years ago, song B was written 2 years ago, song C was written 8 years ago.
Oh, that's so nice, Jeff. I have to tell you, it's I think that's sort of like, which song was going to be on what record and all that kind of stuff. That's sort of a definitely fun puzzle and fun story, right? But I think that's the more kind of unique aspect to the record. Even for me, it's like, that was a conscious decision on his part. He was like, look, I can't make you sound like the Arcade Fire out of the blue, or make you sound like Not a Surf. He's like, it has to stay in the vein of the work that you have. And I think that is what helped the record have consistency, and kind of come together as one piece of work, right? Because like all bands, I hoped that the record could be listened to in one sitting in 38 minutes, and it goes up and down and hits these different emotions. So yeah, he really helped that not sound like 10 years difference.
Right. Yeah. And it's fun. And this is probably going to come as a shock to nobody. I've known Tom probably since the 90s.
Wow. No
early
kidding.
90s.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
just from, all my nights hanging out in Hoboken.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I remember he was in a band, True Love. He kind of showed me. I listened to some of that stuff, and boy, they could play and sing. Good Lord, they were a good band. Oh wow, you got the cover. Look at that. Holy wow, you have the record right there. That's so cool. Wow.
Yeah, I happen to be sitting next to the STUV
Nice.
shelves. And W, which is kind of behind a bunch of boxes, which is why I had
There you
to
go.
pull out
There's
the
not too
Wrens
many
record.
W bands.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So no use. You're not coming back. It's all there. You can't undo those tracks. The weight I was lifting was lifted from me. Calling the years that I'm answered somehow. I fall at your feet once again. Found in your eyes what I was waiting for. So why can't I see what went wrong? It's unreal how you can disappear. How one look stopped and drove me all those years, and now that it's over, it hangs over me. And two comes to fall, permanent shape. Some things just won't be undone. One way is gone, but it fills in the space and somehow keeps leading me home. Try to find your own way back. And all this time you were right beside me. I can't believe this is how things end. I won't let go. Lost and on my own without you. Far from sounds of what I've broken. I swear I'll write what I can. It's the last thing that I do.
We've been chatting about a whole bunch of things, not the least of which is the new album Observatory, which is out now on Sub Pop. Came out very late last year, but early enough to end up on a lot of best of 2021 lists, including my own.
Thank you.
And and this drives a lot of people nuts because, as you might imagine, towards the end of every year, I get asked by a lot of people, what are your top 10 records? What are your top 20 records? And I'm like, first of all, there's no way I am cutting it down to 10 or 20, and I'm not ranking them.
Yes.
But I will give you a list of like 65 that were my favorites of the year, and given the name Aeon Station, AEON, it's the first one in the list. So it'll look like you're number one.
Listen, it's the luck of the draw, right? But yeah, I can't thank you enough. And you know, like I said, you've known me a long time, right? And I had no expectations. I've been in the game long enough to know, don't have expectations, right? Do it for love, do it for what you think it is, be true to it, and it will find what it needs to find. And I would joke, it's a very South Jersey kind of thing. I would joke with Jerry and Greg and my wife. I would say, if 3 people would come to like the Tuckahoe Inn, which is this restaurant that's in Beasley's Point in South Jersey, and I could play a couple songs, I really would be happy. So, and I mean that with all sincerity, right? When you've done it for over 30 years, just the fact of being able to do it is a gift. And I think it kind of goes to that piece, like, just don't give in, don't give up, don't quit. That's what the record's mostly about, right? And we all need to hear that sometimes.
Well, I think there, and we've been playing the song Fade from the album, which and it's such a, this may come across really oddly, but, and the same was true with the Wrens. There were amazing, either melodic or instrumental type hooks in the songs that were sort of easy for an ear or a brain to latch onto, but the songs as a whole are nowhere near what a pop song should look like.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually, I think, that the greatest compliment that we would get as the Wrens, and now that you would just say here with Aeon Station, because that I think is what the Wrens were about, right? As much as we dreamed and hoped and prayed that we would have hooks like a Nada Surf, or that we really could come across that way, and in our warped, crazy minds, we thought we were. That's what sort of makes it even more odd. I think even with Aeon Station, and I listen to them, whether it's the song Leaves, which I'm really proud about, how that kind of floats, and then with Fade, with Fade, I was just so happy, and with that, without a doubt, that's the drums. The drums sort of brought that song together and brought it up in a way. And actually, it's one of the only kind of songs we ever had where the drums sort of go throughout the entire song. But the song is so bizarre. Like, there's all these weird sections. It's up, it's down. It's got this long tail, And I think in my mind, I thought it was like, oh my God, this is going to be the best pop song of all time. And the reality is like, it's nowhere near it. But I also think that that's what gives it longevity. That people that kind of like it, if they listen to it in 6 months later or a year later, they're like, oh, that's better than I recall.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes me super proud.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was because, I mean, the Wrens and Aeon Station, I think, not the least reason of which is because you're writing and performing a lot of the songs in both cases, or all of them in one case. There are tempo changes, there are dynamics changes, there are points when your vocals are not the top, all of these things that sort of work against logical pop theory. It's so you're exactly right. And when we would start, when we did like the Secaucus was, again, another one of my favorite records that we did with the Wrens. I liked all the Wrens records equally for different reasons. And but we would actually seek that out. Like, it was crazy. And I think in some ways it's kind of hard habits to break. I would still seek that out even in Observatory, like in a song like Fade, which is very Wrens-like, minus maybe the synths, but we had Hopeless, had synths, Happy had synths. I mean, we always use synths, but however, really, really searching it out for that kind of odd quality is that, I think, is what just turns us on. Even though you're exactly right, it also keeps us from being wildly successful. Like, there's no way someone's going to enjoy an Aeon Station song or a Wren song like Spoon, because I don't think we can do it. We hope, we believe we can, but we really cannot. Well, and I can only imagine how many times over the years you were probably told by somebody, guys, why does this have a 120-second intro? Like, get to the vocal in like 20.
Forget it. Why does this song not really have a chorus? We don't know. Like, or why are there 4 sections before you get to the verse? we're not sure. We're just not sure why, right? But again, I'm telling you, which is so fun, is we believe we are being spooned, or we're being that type of band, or whomever, right? Whoever like really can deliver these kind of straight across, will come. We always believe every tempo ballad is like a Wilco song. I think if you looked at all of our charts, we've written like 75 Wilco songs that said absolutely nothing like Wilco. Nothing. You know what I mean? Nothing.
But that's, I mean, and that's why I was saying, even taking all that into account, there is something earwormy about whatever, a meandering melody line, or just the way, like, and Fade is one of the songs that like starts at one place, builds, and a lot of the so-called experts would have probably said it takes too long to build, but
yeah, totally.
But the hell with it.
Because that's the thing. It's not going to be played on Sirius Radio. It's like, Jeff Raspe is going to play it, and people who are going to like it are going to love it. And those that are not going to like it are just going to switch it or hate it or whatever, and I've lived in that world for so long that I kind of enjoy it, but I think you're exactly right. And the other part too is that, people like yourself and many of your listeners, they're really educated and they're like experts in an art. So paintings or cool books or cool like movies and cool weird songs, that's like a thing, and acquired tastes or whatever, right? However you want to say it. And I think that the Wrens and now even Aeon Station, I think that appeals to that sort of like, thing, right? Which is cool.
Right. I mean, there is something to be said for like, a straight up, no bones about it pop song that hits you right over the head immediately. Yeah. But there is also something to be said for albums as well as songs that take a little bit of effort to get into.
Again,
I mean, it's not asking a lot.
It's not asking a lot
to pay attention that long.
It is, but I will tell you that is exactly what we've always gone for. And I do think, thank you for putting it on your list. And it was so an honor to be on so many lists, especially because the record was only out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe 3 weeks or two, because a lot of people would have had to give the list in early.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I do think that over time, it will find its place where it's like it could be one of those weird things where it's like, oh, you should listen to this record. It's got some cool songs. They might not love the whole entire thing, or they might love the whole thing, and I think that's what I was the most proud of, is like at the end of it, I was like, it's a good run of strong songs, right? Yeah. It's not going to change the world. It's not, in my mind, OK Computer, or whatever, right? Whatever record you hail as perfect. But I'm extremely proud.
Absolutely. And by all means, every reason to be so. Friday, March 11th at TVI in Ridgewood, Queens, Aeon Station makes their live on stage debut. Although I will say that it's definitely not the first time on stage for any of them. I know full well. And then sometime the week after at South by Southwest, if anybody happens to be heading down to Texas for some fun, I'm not. And then who knows, when you guys come back, we'll see if a Jersey show has materialized by then, or early spring, something like that.
Thank you.
And considering how long it took to get Observatory into the world, I probably shouldn't ask this already, but any plans for album 2 yet?
I
mean, well, you admitted that for a lot of years there, you literally stopped writing.
Yeah.
So my image of you, like, for anybody watching the video, there's kind of a chest of drawers behind you. Like, in my mind, with all these years waiting for a record, those drawers are all full of notebooks full of lyrics and music charts and stuff like that.
It's
But you admitted
I-
that you didn't write for a long time, so maybe they're empty.
yeah, nothing. It was all empty. I will tell you that yes, for whatever worth it is, I don't think I would do it forever and ever, but I would be interested in doing, whatever comes next, right? I let it also speaks to like this record's unique because it was over 17 years. It's a weird thing. I mathematically can't do that again.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's now to kind of enjoy it in where it is in this part of my life. And so I think maybe a next little try at it. And if I can do it, that'd be great. But Jeff, I will tell you first, so thank you, for sure. Because you're a friend and you would be interested. There'd be many people that are not. So thank you. That's for sure.
There are many who are not either a friend or interested. Kevin Whelan from Aeon Station, as always, great to see you. Thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with us here at 90.5 The Night. And keep an ear out for Fade. It is on the air here at 90.5 The Night.
Jeff, do you mind if I interrupt you for 2 seconds?
Sure.
I can't thank you enough because we have photographs of being with you in New Jersey in early radio station days, and you hanging out with us and supporting us and pushing us. The Wrens' success was because of people like you, no doubt. And I see it in a way of what you offer to the community and the art and the enjoyment and connectivity. And, over these years, you've saved a lot of people through music and friendship. And honestly, man, you're equally as humble, but your legacy is long-reaching, and you've always been such a huge friend and friend, a fan of the band, but a friend first for the Wrens, and now for Aeon Station. So thank you on behalf of anyone that listens to you or that knows you. Right? It's a moment in time. So thanks, dude.
Well, thank you. It is always a bit humbling, and I do appreciate when, at this point now, I've actually been on the radio in the Monmouth County, Jersey Shore area for, believe it or not, 33 and a third years.
Wow, that's beautiful. You should make a shirt. Come on, man. That's a great idea.
And it's all, I'll admit it's a little disconcerting when somebody says, "Oh my God, I grew up listening to you." Okay. But you're definitely not the first person to have, brought that up and said something, words to that effect. And it is,
it's a big deal, man. It's a life.
Yeah.
It's a life, Jeff.
You always joke about, artists who are lifers, the ones who, like, even after the sun sets, they're singing in their local church, or they're, becoming the music director of a youth center or something like that.
Yeah.
They're lifers.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's I know it's sort of the end of the show, but that's the real story, dude. You know what I mean? Like that, you're a lifer. The Arcade Fire story is one shot in the dark, but you've been doing it for 30-some years. What you've given is huge, right? And I'm lucky to be in the Wrens for over 30 years, right? And I'll do Aeon Station. It really is. It's what you do is your life, and people love it and appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And if anybody out there listening feels the same way, thank you as well.
Truly.
TVI in Queens, March 11th. The new album Aeon Station is out and available everywhere because it's on Sub Pop. We didn't say this earlier, but kudos to them as well, because they thought they were getting in the Wrens game to put out the follow-up to the Meadowlands at some point. And they could have, said, "Oh, okay, I guess we're not getting that. So, you guys are all out of your contract." But like you said, they're also, in it for the right reason, and they're lifers, and they stuck with you.
I can't say it enough. So Tony from Sub Pop and Jonathan, who runs the label, are just miraculous people. If you're graced enough, and the whole Sub Pop team, right, that works, Becca in advertising, and then Michelle from radio. It's an incredible family, and we were really able to use and work with Ray Roldan this time for doing press, and Sub Pop, connected with him and added him into the whole fold. And Ray's another huge long-term Jersey fan and friend, and was our publicist for Secaucus. I mean,
really?
Yeah. Ray was our publicist on the Wrens Secaucus. That's how we've been friends for that long. I mean, he got all that press, and now he's done Aeon Station. And Sub Pop is, if you have dreams of music, you should reach out to them for sure.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to hang with us. And hopefully we'll see you on a stage in New Jersey soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Kevin from Aeon Station here on 90.5 The Night, Brookdale Public Radio.
Here comes the love. Here comes the one. Here comes the dreams you had so long ago. And where is the life? One that you want. Here comes the songs that break us apart. Here comes that love. Here comes the ones you dreamed you'd always have. So hold on, just hold on. Every true heart you've overcome, you're sorry in your eyes and comes up. Don't hold to the one who broke your heart. You can't undo what's done. Why settle for what you could have been? Your time here is short of falling in. You can't always lose, you gotta win. And something can change around again. We want a better love, the kind you can't deny. And I love, what would we be? So hold on, just hold on. We wander down the tracks we know where to never go.